Here's a drinking game suggestion. Take a shot every single time Samuel L. Jackson says motherfucker in this movie. Yep. Pulp Fiction. Welcome back to my favorite movies. And yeah, big surprise, Pulp Fiction is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's the second movie written and directed by Mr. Quentin Tarantino. The film stars John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Ving Rhames, Bruce Willis, Rosanna Arquette, Eric Stoltz, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, Christopher Walken, and many, many more. The film tells a story about two hitmen, a mob boss, his wife, and a boxer. Also a couple that wants to rob restaurants. And this story is told in a non-linear fashion, meaning we have 3 chapters, they're not in the correct chronological order, and they are driven by superbly written dialogue. Now, Pulp Fiction is a classic among classics, and I believe it absolutely deserves that title because virtually everything about this movie works. First of all, the plot. You look at the movie and you're like, it's not really a crime movie. It's not a thriller. It's also not really a comedy. Again, it's one of those things. It's clearly a Tarantino movie. It's its own thing. It's funny when it wants to be. It's dark when it wants to be. It's violent when it wants to be. It's all those kind of things that now we came to love and adore about Mr. Quentin Tarantino. The cast in this movie is also absolutely fantastic, starting with John Travolta. John Travolta plays the hitman Vincent Vega. He just came back from Europe and is now asked to go out with the boss's wife in order to keep her company. And of course, this is not an easy task. Uma Thurman plays sort of the femme fatale of the film. She is also extremely amazing. She's a bit crazy. She's a drug addict, as almost every single character in the movie is. But she's also 100% in your face. She's not shy. She says what she thinks. And I love this about her character. Bruce Willis is in the movie. And this is actually one of my all-time favorite Bruce Willis performances because he is a boxer and his biggest enemy is pride. He is paid to lose, but of course he doesn't want to, and this leads to a lot of conflict between him and the mob boss, Marcellus Wallace, terrifically played by Ving Rhames from Mission Impossible. Yeah, he's the man. But hands down, the best character in the entire movie is Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson plays Jules Winfield, and honestly, I could dedicate an entire video to the character of Jules Winfield. He is a man of contradiction. He's this hardcore, badass hitman, but he's also a fan of pop culture, a burger lover, a man of God, and a smooth motherfucker. Seriously, everything about this guy is contradictory, but he pulls it off perfectly. And let's get right to it. The dialogue. This is the epitome of awesome writing. All of the characters have like this very relatable, realistic dialogue. They talk about random stuff like cheeseburgers, movies, their personal experiences. And it's one of those things where you look at the dialogue and seriously, every single line of this movie is quotable as hell. It's one of those things where the dialogue is cool without trying. The dialogue is not only relatable, funny, dark, filled with pop culture references. No, it's also filled with racial slurs and F-bombs. And Tarantino is notoriously unapologetic about this. And I personally love it. Yeah, he's been accused numerous times of being excessive with, let's say, the N-word or motherfucker or F-bombs or whatever. And I don't like to see it that way because what he does is he creates real people and real dialogue. And every time the N-word or the F-word is used, it's really authentic to the characters. This is why it never really bothered me. There's this one point in the movie where they go into an extremely dark direction, but even that scenery is saved by amazingly funny humor. I mean, it's funny, but in a very dark way. And I personally will never forget the way I laughed my ass off when Marvin got shot in the face. That's a scene that in theory you're like, that's not funny, you bastard. And then you see it on screen and you're like, holy shit, this is... The movie is quotable as hell. It really solidified Samuel L. Jackson as the badass we know and love. It put Uma Thurman on the spot, and it revived John Travolta's career, who no one wanted to work with anymore because they only associated him with movies like Saturday Night Live or Grease. And funny enough, he gets a really cool dancing sequence in the movie. The Jackrabbit Slim Twist contest scene is iconic as fuck and referenced to no end. And that brings me to another positive aspect of this movie, the soundtrack. Holy shit, the soundtrack of this movie works perfectly. Tarantino really knows how to make use of already existing music and use them in his movies to make them iconic again and to give them completely new associations. And he does this again in this movie like a master. Audio and visuals just blend in perfectly. Out of the 3 chapters, the last one is probably my favorite, because the chemistry between Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta is one of the best chemistries ever put on any screen. So yeah, great writing, great acting, great casting, great characters, great soundtrack, amazing humor, brilliant dialogue. The fact that it's not in the chronological right order makes you think once you're done with the movie. It's like, oh, okay, this happened first, then that, then let's go back to this and mash it all, and it makes all perfect sense. That's awesome. Pulp Fiction is a movie that influenced me like almost no other movie before or after, and it will always have a special place in my heart. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and of course, it gets the gold medal. If you haven't seen Pulp Fiction yet, even if you don't like any of Tarantino's other work, which is still weird to me, but okay, go check this movie out. And with every great movie, of course, come the copycats. There's so many movies these days coming out professing that they are the new Pulp Fiction, and they're just not. Pulp Fiction is still the new Pulp Fiction. Because as I said, it's relatable, funny dialogue. It's clever and it's cool, but without trying. Most of the time you see some of these attempts of creating a new Pulp Fiction, the dialogue just feels forced, and you're like, no one on earth talks like that. Tarantino does a brilliant job in creating realistic dialogue. So Pulp Fiction, what do you think of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, then just subscribe.